Hi, we're back with another episode of Syrio's training, and in this episode we will be going over action windows.
The draw phase is really easy. We just each draw 2 cards at the same time, and followed by another action window and the conclusion of the draw phase. The marshaling phase is where things get a little bit more complicated on timing, which starts with the active player, who is the first player, to count their income. Income is determined by your plot card and any gold modifiers you have on cards in play.
Remember that only the active player collects gold when the marshaling phase starts. The second player only collects gold when they become the active player.
The most important thing to remember is that the marshaling phase is actually a back and forth with a special action available for the active player. Every time the active player marshals a card, it is considered an action, and technically, the opposing player has an opportunity to perform an action.
This back and forth will continue until all players around the table have had a chance to become the active player and marshal cards.
We have a few examples of how this particular interaction works.
Technically, in the marshaling phase, between every time that you marshal a card or take some kind of action to reduce the cost or to manipulate the board in any way, it's actually an action and it goes back and forth just like in any other phase. However, that isn't necessarily practiced all the time. Sometimes this going back and forth is very important. So we're going to show you one particular interaction in the marshaling phase that very much matters on who's going first and what order each player takes their actions. In the first situation, I'm going to be first player, and both of these cards have been marshaled from the previous round. Since I have the option to take the first action, I'm going to immediately use my King's Road by kneeling and sacrificing this card to immediately reduce the first character that I marshal by 3.
Now, the reason I was not able to use my Lordsport Shipwright to effectively kneel out her King's Road so she couldn't use it is because she gains the first action window as first player. So unless I had an interrupt, I would not have been able to stop that marshaling action from her King's Road. In this second scenario, I am first player, and for my action, I will marshal a Lordsport Shipwright.
I have an action window now as we go back and forth. Seeing that my King's Road and therefore economy for that round and whatever my plan is in danger, I will take my action instead of passing as is normal and kneel and sacrifice my King's Road. This King's Road is a constant effect until I marshal a character. We will just have to make sure that we remember that my very first character is -3 cost.
At this point, given that I have a Lordsport Shipwright and no target to kneel, I would continually marshal my cards. Now in this third example, we both have cards that have been marshaled last round. I am first player, so what I'm going to do is use my action window to kneel Lordsport Shipwright in order to kneel Lauren's King's Road, instead of marshaling another card.
Now this last scenario actually doesn't matter who the first player is. What does matter is in the order that we do this. We can either say that Caesar marshaled Lordsport Shipwright already because he was the first player, or he had it in from the last round. In this particular scenario, it doesn't matter. What does matter is the going back and forth. So on my turn, when I am marshaling, I take the action of marshaling a King's Road. The next action, as it goes back and forth, would be Caesar's.
Given that I now have an action window, I will now kneel Lordsport Shipwright in order to kneel out her King's Road, rendering it useless to her when it comes time for her action window.